I live alone at 80. Most people hear that and think they understand immediately. They imagine loneliness, sadness, or a quiet house filled with boredom. They assume the hardest part is having no one around. But that's not what no one tells you. Loneliness is something people warn you about. They talk about it openly. They say, "At least you'll have peace." And yes, there is peace. But peace is not the same as being ready for what comes next. Living alone at this age isn't about missing people all the time. It's about hearing your own thoughts more clearly than ever before. When the world slows down, your memories don't. They get louder. You remember conversations you rushed, moments you postponed, people you assumed would always be there. The house still looks the same, but it feels different. Every sound stands out. Every silence lasts longer. You begin to notice things you never had time to notice before. And that's when the truth arrives. No one tells you that living alone forces you to finally meet yourself. Not the busy version, not the distracted one, the real one. The one shaped by decades of choices. People think living alone at 80 is about being abandoned by others. But often it's about realizing how often you abandoned yourself while chasing life. This is not a sad story. It's an honest one. Because when you reach this age, you stop pretending. You stop running. And you finally understand what truly matters. And that's why what I'm about to share next is something everyone should hear before it's too late. Everyone says, "At least you have peace." And they're not wrong. I do have peace. Mornings are quiet. Nights are calm. No one interrupts my routine. But peace is not the same as being prepared. No one tells you that peace can feel unfamiliar when you've spent your whole life rushing. When the noise finally stops, you realize how much of your life was spent avoiding silence, not enjoying it. People think living alone means you're resting now, that you've earned it, that this is the easy part. But the truth is, peace forces you to face things you never had time to think about before. You start asking yourself questions you once avoided. Did I live the life I wanted, or the life I was expected to live? Did I really listen, or was I always in a hurry to speak? Did I choose my days, or did they choose me? This is the part no one prepares you for. Peace doesn't distract you. It reveals you. And if you've never learned how to sit with yourself, that quiet can feel heavier than any crowd. That's why so many people stay busy their entire lives. Not because they love noise, but because they're afraid of what peace might show them. Silence isn't loud. It doesn't crash into you. It doesn't demand attention. It's quiet, and it's patient. Silence waits for you at night, when the lights are off and there's nowhere left to go. During the day, you can distract yourself. You can move around. You can keep busy. But at night, silence sits beside you and stays. That's when you hear things you never noticed before. Your own breathing, the clock on the wall, the space between one thought and the next. And in that space, memories begin to surface. Silence brings back voices from years ago, conversations you thought you forgot, moments you assumed didn't matter. It doesn't rush you. It lets them arrive slowly, one by one. People think silence is empty. It's not. It's full. Full of everything you didn't have time to feel when life was loud. At this age, silence doesn't just surround you. It speaks to you. Sometimes it reminds you of love, sometimes of mistakes, sometimes of chances that came once and never returned. And you can't mute it. You can't scroll past it. You have to listen. This is the real silence no one talks about. Not the peaceful kind you imagine, but the honest kind. The kind that shows you who you've been and quietly asks who you are now. No one tells you that living alone teaches you everything, when it's almost too late to use it. That's the truth people avoid saying out loud. When you're young, life is busy. You're surrounded by people, responsibilities, and noise. You think you're learning, but most of the time, you're just reacting. You don't sit long enough to understand yourself. Living alone changes that. It strips everything back. There's no one to blame, no one to impress, and no one to distract you. You finally see your patterns clearly, the choices you repeated, the conversations you avoided, the time you thought you had more of. This is where wisdom really shows up. Not in books, not in advice, but in quiet moments when you connect the dots of your own life. You realize what mattered, what didn't, and what you misunderstood for decades. The painful part is timing. These lessons arrive when your energy is lower, your body is slower, and your chances are fewer. You finally understand how to live, just when life is asking you to slow down. People think growing old alone is about loss. It's not. It's about clarity, and clarity doesn't come gently. It comes honestly. If you're younger and listening to this, remember one thing. Don't wait for silence to teach you what attention could teach you today. You notice things you never noticed before. Small things, quiet things. A clock ticking a little louder than it used to. An empty chair that no one sits in anymore. Food in the refrigerator that lasts 3 days longer than it should, because you're only cooking for one now. These details don't hurt all at once. They arrive gently, almost politely. But they stay with you. You begin to measure time differently. Not in years, but in routines. Morning light through the same window. 1 cup of tea instead of 2. 1 plate on the table always placed in the same spot. Objects start holding memories. That chair remembers conversations. That clock remembers waiting. Even the walls feel like they've heard things you no longer say out loud. People think it's the big moments that matter most. But when you live alone at this age, it's the small details that hit the hardest. Because they remind you how full life once was, without saying a single word. There's nothing dramatic about it, no tears, no breakdown, just a quiet awareness that settles in and stays. And that's when you understand something important. Life doesn't disappear suddenly. It fades slowly, in details so small you only notice them when everything else finally goes quiet. I don't regret being alone. That might surprise you, but it's the truth. Being alone isn't the painful part. I've learned to live with it. I've learned to handle my days, my thoughts, and my routines. What I regret is not learning how to be alone earlier. I spent most of my life surrounded by people, yet never truly comfortable with myself. I stayed busy. I stayed distracted. I filled every quiet moment with noise, work, or obligations. I thought being alone meant something was wrong. Now I understand how backwards that was. If I had learned earlier how to sit with myself, how to listen without escaping, how to be at peace without needing approval, my life would have felt fuller long before now. This isn't self-pity, it's clarity. Regret doesn't always come with tears. Sometimes it comes with understanding. You reach a point where you stop blaming others. You stop blaming circumstances. You simply see the truth of your choices. And the truth is this: learning to be alone is a skill, one that most people never practice until life forces them to. I wish I had learned it sooner. If I could speak to my younger self, this is what I would say. Learn to sit with yourself now. Don't wait for age to teach you that. Stop filling every quiet moment with noise. Stop rushing from one distraction to the next just to feel busy or important. Being alone doesn't mean you're falling behind. Sometimes it means you're finally paying attention. Take time to listen to your own thoughts without judging them. Learn what actually matters to you, not what impresses others. The sooner you understand yourself, the less regret you'll carry later. Build a life that doesn't collapse when it gets quiet. Learn to enjoy your own company before you're forced to. Because one day, the world will slow down whether you're ready or not. Don't confuse being surrounded by people with being fulfilled. And don't confuse loneliness with weakness. Strength is being comfortable in your own presence. If you can learn that now, you'll age with less fear and more peace. Not because life will be easier, but because you'll understand yourself better. I'm telling you this not as advice from a book, but as a lesson from a long life. Listen to it while you still have time to use it. Living alone at 80 isn't a tragedy. It's simply a season of life that most people never imagine clearly. There is sadness in it, yes, but there is also honesty. There is space to breathe, to reflect, and to finally understand the life you lived. What truly hurts isn't the quiet house or the empty rooms. It's the fear of your own thoughts, the fear of sitting with yourself without distractions. That fear follows people at every age. When you learn to accept your own company, the silence softens. It no longer feels like something chasing you. It becomes something that walks beside you. At this age, you stop fighting the quiet. You let it be. You let yourself be. Living alone at 80 isn't a tragedy, but being afraid of your own company, that is.